I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with Joe Locke and Kit Connor from the Netflix series Heartstopper. You play Charlie and Nick, classmates who fall in love with each other, but each have also their own personal journeys they're going through. What do you enjoy most about these characters, you know, as people, as individuals that you get to play? You can start with Joe.
Oh, I think for me, especially, Charlie is he's just such a nice person. I think the word nice is so underrated when describing someone, but like Charlie is just nice. He cares about his friends and family, and it's so nice to be able to play a character that is both queer and nice, and is showing that to especially younger viewers and younger people that, like, I think sometimes in society there's this idea that like being queer makes you an alien in society, and by people therefore alienate you. And I think it's just nice to play a character who that's not the case, and he's just nice, and his queerness hasn't affected that.
How about you, Kit?
Well, I too, I think I'm going to use the word nice for sure. But I think that, I mean, the fact that they are two very nice queer characters is always a bonus. But I think one of the best things about playing Nick is he's got so much sort of going on in his head. A lot of my performance for me felt very much internal, especially like, you know, when I wasn't speaking or when I was just sort of sitting in my room alone. I think one of the most important things for me playing it was just having that internal kind of conflict in his head. And he's just so desperate to, like, you know, not let anyone down or not, you know, yeah, I think that's one of the most important things for me, but it's lovely to play him in that sense.
And you know, what was like the casting process of you know, getting to play these roles? Like, you know, were there a lot of callbacks, a lot of auditions? Joe, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think me and Kit had slightly different casting processes because it was my first job, and so I hadn't done any professional acting before that. I'd done lots of amateur acting, but the producers of Heartstopper wanted to make a really authentic casting, and so they did an open call, and I saw that, and a friend was like, Joe, you should go for this, and so I did. And then every round that I'd get through, it was like, oh, this isn't real, this isn't happening, and then it's like, oh, maybe this actually is happening. And so yeah, I did about 4 or 5 auditions, and me and Kit did a Zoom chemistry read because it was COVID, which was interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much you can assess chemistry over Zoom, but clearly you can.
Kit, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, as Joe said, my experience in the casting was slightly different in the sense that I'd been acting for a few years beforehand. So I kind of, it all came through my agent, and it was a self-tape, I mean, much like the open call in that sense. But yeah, I originally auditioned for Joe's character, for Charlie, which was probably an odd fit. But yeah, I mean, it was a good few auditions, mostly over Zoom. Then I had that Zoom meeting with Joe. Then I had a chemistry read in person with Karina, who plays Tara in the show. And then I finally had a chemistry read with everyone, including Joe. So it was quite a long process, but it was really exciting, and I really I was desperate to get the role. So yeah, a success overall.
And once you were, you know, cast on the show, did you have a lot of time to get to know each other before you started filming, to kind of develop that bond between you and your characters, or did you just kind of jump in?
We had a 2-week rehearsal process, which was, I think, invaluable in creating bonds between us, and also, like, because a lot of the cast were from open calls, a lot of us didn't have any idea what, like, acting in front of a camera or being on a film set was like. So I think those 2 weeks really made us all feel more comfortable and made us understand the characters, and we went through the whole script and talked about characters' intentions and all of that fun stuff, which was really great, especially like as a new actor in the industry. having that time to understand the character and therefore be able to do the character justice on the screen was really, really great.
Yeah, I do also think that one of the benefits of the way that it kind of worked out with the schedule is that although we did have those 2 weeks to kind of, you know, work through the script and the scenes and to get to know each other, it was also kind of being thrown into the deep end in the sense that, I mean, I was quite lucky in that Nick especially doesn't start off the show particularly close with many of the other sort of characters in the main ensemble. So, you know, as we were making the show, we sort of suddenly would get closer and closer and closer. And we shot it in a relatively chronological order. So you could kind of see us as the characters get closer, us as actors getting closer as well. And that's also just sort of translated since we stopped filming season 1 and, you know, got closer and closer and closer. You can see it and as we started doing press and everything like that. But yeah, we were definitely, I think that although we had those 2 weeks, we were still sort of thrown into the deep end.
Definitely.
And you know, the series is based on the graphic novels by Alice Oseman, and she's also the writer on the series. Does that help a lot, like having the creator of the source material be the, you know, the person on hand, you know, working on the show?
Yeah, it does. I think it was nice to just, Alice was on set most days, and so if we had any questions about something about the character we didn't totally understand or intentions of the scene, we could always ask Alice, and that was really nice to have like the Heartstopper Bible in a person always on set. And everything, I think a lot of adaptations where they fall at the hurdle is that they don't have the creator of the series involved so much. And I think that was something the production team really wanted to make sure, that Alice was fully involved from the start and in everything. And it means that the adaptation is true to the source material, which then in itself, I think always means a better outcome for everyone. But it was really nice in that Alice also allowed us to make the characters our own and add our own spin on them, and make sure it wasn't just a carbon copy of the text straight on to the screen. We got to like make our own versions of Charlie and Nick and everyone else.
Yeah, I also think that just having Alice there, because they really are like, you know, it's their baby, it's Alice's creation. The fact that she was there every single day pretty much meant that it really felt like everyone was there to make it, and we all really wanted to make it. It was like a real passion project for everyone, which, you know, is never ever a bad thing for a TV show to be made under those kind of circumstances. So having Alice there as the sort of driving force of that kind of passion was great.
Definitely.
Now, the show presents a lot of diversity in terms of people's identities, and me as a 38-year-old, I didn't used to see all that, you know, that much on TV in when I was a teenager. How meaningful is that to both of you, and how well does that reflect kind of both of your experiences of seeing the world as teenagers?
Oh. Do you want to...
I can, yeah, I'll go. Why not? I'll take the first one for once. Yeah, I think that it's a real honor to be able to make a show like Heartstopper. And you know, seeing the shows that have come before us, you know, in the more recent stands, kind of like It's a Sin, and then, you know, slightly further back like Queer as Folk and things like that. Like these queer shows that were so you know, rare in many ways, and to have a show like Heartstopper, it's kind of shows how far we've come as a community and as a society. But it's still like, you know, we do have to kind of pinch ourselves that we're able to make this kind of show. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely meant to be a reflection of real life, whether it's a super clear, you know, exact reflection of real life is you know, because it is very much through tinted spectacles, as I always say. It's a very optimistic view of life, and it's kind of in many ways what we hope and how we hope that life would be. You know, we're definitely showing some of the homophobia that's present in schools and things like that. But I think that for the most part, we're really trying to show a relatively true to life portrayal of being queer in a high school in England.
Yeah. I always say that it's like, even when what our show does really well is when it tackles problems or issues that may not seem very quote unquote heartstopper, it does so with the light always at the end of the tunnel. You always know that it's going to be okay at the end, which I think is so important, especially for like younger queer people, especially in the turbulent societies that we live in, to know that everything will be okay, even if it doesn't seem like it will be now. And I think Heartstopper is like, it's realism if we lived in a world where everyone felt like they could be who they were. And whether we live in that world is different in wherever you are in the world. But that's why I also think that like Netflix is such a perfect place for a show like Heartstopper, because it has just such a huge reach around the world. And our show is available in countries where being gay gets you the death penalty. And shows like Heartstopper existing within those spheres and in those places in the world is so important in changing people's views and opinions and kickstarting other places' path to acceptance.
And the show being available, so many places in the world, and it's gotten such a large fan base. What have some of the fan reactions been to the show that that have been especially memorable or meaningful to both of you?
I mean, it's always a real pinch me moment when you go to a different country and have sort of fan experiences. We all as a cast and in different times have gone to loads of different places, and we were in Paris for Fashion Week a little while ago, and that was insane. The fan base in Paris was so passionate and exciting. It was so cool to be walking down the street and having these kind of interactions in Paris, and then going to America and having these American fans was a real pinch me moment. I think especially because in the UK we sort of watch so much American media and consume so much American media, and it's kind of funny to see that these Americans are consuming our little British show. But yeah, I think that's one of the craziest things for me is going to a different country. But it also hits very hard sometimes when we're in London walking down the street and someone stops you.
Yeah, I think one thing I've noticed about people who enjoy Heartstopper and will meet you in the street is every single person cares about the show and cares deeply about the interaction they had with the show, which I think is such a rare and really beautiful thing. Yeah.
And what inspired both of you to become actors and to tell stories in this way with your lives and careers?
I think, shall I go first again?
Yeah, you can go first.
I'll go first. Okay. I think for me, I always think that I'm a bit of an introvert, and I was never really particularly. I think as a young child, I was quite loud and annoying, but I think as I sort of grew up a little bit, I kind of was never the most confident, and there was something about being able to sort of like not hide behind a character but play a character, and it gives you that kind of, I don't know, that security blanket. But I just think that being an actor for me is, and being in the arts in general is just one of the best jobs in the world. And I feel so lucky to be able to do it all the time, and as my job. But yeah, I think for me it's definitely, there's something in just kind of escaping into a character and kind of hiding behind it and not having to be myself. One of the hardest things for me is having to be in front of people in real life and be myself and not not play a character. But yeah,
I think for me it's similar to Kit in that I may seem very extroverted to some people, but I'm actually not at all. And every social interaction terrifies me. So the idea of being someone else for a while and telling someone else's story is really nice. And I always wanted to be an actor when I was younger because I loved escaping my small town life and being someone else and being whatever I wanted to be in the world. And getting Heartstopper, I think, has changed my perspective on that a little bit, in that I love telling stories about people that their stories might not have been told otherwise, and that excites me. And yeah, it's it's really exciting.
Well, I want to congratulate you both on the show. Looking forward to more Heartstopper as it's been renewed. It's coming back for more. And thank you both for talking with me about it.
Oh,
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.